So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining our first entrepreneur speaker series of this semester. I'm Shanika Turner. I am an assistant professor of business administration here at Georgia Highlands College. I will be the moderator for this series, and at any time, feel free to post questions to the chat, or you can send them directly to me if you have a question that comes to mind. Entrepreneurs who start and lead small businesses actually make a significant contribution to the economy and to the quality of life. According to the Census Bureau, more than 4.4 million new businesses were created in the US during 2020, the highest total on record today. So, for reference, that's about a 24.3% increase from 2019 and a 51% higher increase than 2010 to 2019 average. 500,000 new businesses were started in just January of 2021 alone. The interest that young people have in eventually owning their own business has grown significantly, as indicated by the number of college students enrolling in small business and entrepreneur courses. Our entrepreneurship pathway here at GHC was created so that we could graduate students with the tools they need to bring innovative ideas into fruition quickly. Today, we have an entrepreneur who had an amazing idea that she turned into a unique business venture. Candace is the director of the Atlanta Police Department Crime Lab. With more than a decade of forensic experience, she is the first Black woman to hold the agency's title and presumably the nation. Walker, a forensic scientist, specializes as a firearm and toolmark examiner. She has a BS in biology, minor in forensic chemistry, and an MS in criminal justice administration from Loyola University in New Orleans. Her career began at the Georgia Bureau of Investigation. She then took an assignment in Afghanistan, analyzing military cases with the Defense Forensic Science Center. In 2014, she returned to Afghanistan for a year as a forensic mentor because of her experience. She has served on the Jackie Robinson Foundation Alumni Association. Um, the executive board, she is in the Atlanta chapter. She also founded the Ann Key Memorial Foundation at Stone Mountain High School in memorial of her late mother. She is a international association of Chiefs Police member of 40 under 40 as award recipient for 2018. She was appointed to the DeKalb County Board of Ethics. She's a professor with Atlanta Intercontinental University and is a member of Lead Atlanta Alumni Association, the Stone Mountain Village Market, the Stone Mountain Lithonia chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, the National Organization of Black Law Enforcement Executives, and the Atlanta Fire and Rescue Foundation Young Executive Board. Wow. Walker is also the owner and creator of the Vibrary Wine and Book Bar. The Vibrary is in the heart of Stone Mountain Village and was opened August of 2021. The Vibrary features book signings, book clubs, and wine experiences. Candace has wanted to expand into entrepreneurship for some time and sees it as an important part of her legacy that she wants to leave behind, in addition to community service. As such, a portion of the proceeds from the library will be donated to the Ann Key Memorial Foundation, a nonprofit organization created in memory of Candace's mother that provides college scholarships to local high school seniors. So without further ado, please welcome Candace Walker to our virtual floor.
Wow. Thank you very much. That was a very lengthy introduction. I do appreciate it though. Every time you hear all of the things, you're like, wow, when do I have the time to do any of that? And you realize that you don't. And so I guess I will just dive into it. Like she said, my name is Candace Walker. I'm a part of a lot of organizations, but that is not the most important thing to me. The most important thing to me is just being a productive member of my community. And I'm a part of a lot of different communities. And so this entrepreneurship journey that I have embarked upon beginning last year is just another community that I'm a part of, that I want to be able to be a productive citizen of. And so I guess I will start you with just how it even came to be. Initially, last year, wait, are we in 2021? Yeah, I'm sorry, it's like a time warp sometimes. So we're in 2021. The idea for the Vibrary started in 2020 when we were sitting down, being still during the pandemic. And that was a foreign idea to me, sitting down, being still, because I'm a part of all these other organizations. And so it was a welcomed respite that I could really just be at home for a little while, not be obligated to go to meetings, not be obligated to participate in events. And although I love doing all the things that I do, I didn't know how much I really needed that time to sit and be with myself and my thoughts. During that time, I realized that all these years I've been telling myself I'm not creative. I actually am. Scientists, we figure things out, and you have to be creative to kind of think outside of the box and analyze and come to conclusions with the information that you've been presented. So my idea of somebody creative was all my super creative friends that know how to write music and know how to play instruments and draw and paint and all of those things. And I just did not feel like that was my thing. But during the pandemic, I was able to tap into my creative side. And I noticed that one of the things that I was first interested in was voice acting. So I am a working voice actor as well. That's not even in the bio. And I really had already been working on that and just decided to dive into it and see, well, what the heck? If you really put effort into it for 3 months, what would that do? And I started booking, people started really liking my voice and what I can do with it. And that was basically like the first business that really started during the pandemic. And then the other business, which is the Vibrary, which is what I'm here to talk about, was the brick and mortar business, where it really took a lot more effort, a lot more planning, a lot more grit, I would say, just to get it to the point where I am today, which having the grand opening on August 12th was a feat in and of itself. I mean, I'm a planner, and I've always heard that if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. And that's basically what has happened this entire journey from July of 2020, when me and my former business partner actually came upon the idea and wanted to go into business together, until now, me owning it by myself and it actually being open on a regular, consistent basis. And so that's the first thing that I want to tell people. Your plans don't even matter. I mean, it's good to plan. It really is. You need to have a plan A, you need to have a plan B, but you also need to be super flexible, and you need to give yourself grace, and you need to give other people grace, just as much grace as you would like, while you're going through this entrepreneurship journey, whatever your entrepreneurship journey looks like. Um, I would say that initially it was, oh yeah, everything looked really good on paper. Like we had the numbers down, we were like, okay, this is the week we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this. And then of course we're in the middle of a pandemic. So we didn't even think that that would drastically affect all of the things that you actually need, like shipping, logistics, supply chain stuff, where you're like, okay, well, I need a dishwasher. Well, I mean, nobody's really been out buying dishwashers, so the dishwasher should be in the warehouse ready to go. No. The dishwasher says, oh, I'm going to be there on this day. And then the day comes and the shipper is like, oh, we can't even ship it for 6 to 8 weeks. And you're like, well, if I don't have the dishwasher, then I can't get the inspection. So like that's just one of the things that was like the bane of my existence. It was like plumbing and electricity. It was horrible. I'm like, but this is simple things. You know, you never thought that you would need a permit just so somebody could do something just so they can come back and inspect it again. It's like, well, if you're already going to inspect it on the back end, then why in the world do I have to get a permit for you to say that you can inspect it on the front end as well? I guess that was just me being naive. I think it is important as far as your entrepreneurship journey to seek out people that have done it before, obviously. I reached out to some of my lead alumni members who have run restaurants. I reached out to people in branding, that's their thing, marketing. I reached out to, I call them my personal cabinet members. And basically, they keep me sane and are my sounding board to different ideas that I have. And so that was very important, and just my village in general, very important to say, hey, well, I think about this, or, you know, even when you're doing your market research, well, how much would you pay for this? Do you think that this worth this amount? Looking at other businesses that are similar to yours or your idea and seeing what their model is. How do they price things? What do they offer? How do they market? What do their customers look like? A lot of these things were totally out of my wheelhouse, considering the fact that I've been in a lab since 2007. And so I'm I'm an introvert. I prefer to work alone. I know definitely how to work well with the team, but if I'm just left up to my own devices, I want it quiet. I want to be by myself. I'm fine being at home. The pandemic has been horrible as far as the amount of lives that we've lost and the mental health trauma that a lot of people have endured because we couldn't be around our family members, because we couldn't go outside. But for me, it was not that bad. And you know, I'm not ashamed to say I needed to sit down. I needed to be by myself. I needed to have the time where I could really evaluate and interrogate my thoughts and say, okay, well, you've been doing this and you've been on this committee or you've been on this board for this long. Do you enjoy it? Like, are you doing it just because you feel obligated at this point? Like, are you filling up your calendar because you're trying to not deal with other things? And what I learned about myself is that that was a habit that I had started years ago, dealing with the death of my mother. I stayed busy. In college, I was on everything. I was a part of everything. I went to everything all the time. I was scheduled to the point of in my calendar, it was like to 15-minute increments. And it was like, okay, I have time for lunch now. Okay, I'll take like a 15-minute, just look around break. Okay, 30 minutes, I need to go do this. It was actually insane. I was super productive during that time. But the reason why I realized that I was doing that was because I didn't want to handle the death of my mother. She died right before I went off to college. She was a single parent, and we were very close, and I'm her only child. And so I was dealing with that alone and dealing with being away from my comfort zone, my security, my village of Stone Mountain, all of the friends that I had made there, my friends' parents who had adopted me as their own while we were growing up, and all of that, and going all the way to New Orleans, not knowing anyone. And in order to handle that and not be in my mind breaking down every 5 seconds, I just filled my calendar. And so that habit turned into me not even realizing why I was doing it. And it's just, that's how I've been as an adult. And so the pandemic allowed me to realize that and really confront that and say to myself, okay, well, what do you want? Like, what is really going on with you? And the idea of opening the library excited me not because I'm the biggest wine connoisseur. I'm not a sommelier. Um, I haven't physically had my hands on a book in a very long time. I do audible books because my commute is long for my full-time job. So I listen to things versus putting my hands on it. But I've always loved reading as a child. And I used to get in trouble with a flashlight under my covers, like my mom couldn't see the light coming under the covers, but a flashlight under the covers reading a book until I felt like it was sand granules in my eyeballs. And then I would still have to get up in the morning and go to school. And I'm a person that likes sleep. And so I had an attitude. And so my mother would be upset with me because she's like, you are the person that stayed up reading the book. You shouldn't have an attitude with me. You need to have an attitude with yourself because now you're tired and you can't think straight because you wanted to stay up and read. So I've always had a love of books. So that was a part of it. But also, as an adult, having a nice glass of wine was nice as well. And I started drinking the sweetest thing that I could find, which was Moscato, something like that. And now I have, gone to plenty of tastings and gone to different vineyards, and my palate has expanded. But for the Vibrary, I want people who are just starting, don't know the names of things, and only like sweet stuff, to the person who travels regions and knows what region, how to expertly pronounce it, and are very much so elevated palates. I want all of us to be able to come together and have one community that's very inclusive, but that's fun and educational and relaxing and all of the things that you think of when you feel at home and comfortable. And so that is one of the reasons why I went ahead with starting the Vibrary, even after my business partner had to step away for personal reasons. So there was no conflict, no big drama about how you may hear, partnerships are like this, and then you can't come to the same idea and there's like friction. It wasn't any of that. It was, she just had to take care of some personal things and could not join at the time as far as financial obligations. And so I, having unbeknownst to myself that this was even going to happen, I had to take out a loan for my half of the business. In my thought process of taking out the loan, I decided, well, I'm just going to take out more than what I actually need, and I will invest some of it. I will, see what I can do just so the money could be making money for me while it's sitting, maybe just a high yield savings account or something like that. But I just took out way more than what I actually initially needed. It came to find out I needed that because she did not was not able to move forward. And when I think back to how it started with her and I talking several years prior about this and a concept, which wasn't even this specific concept. It was just, hey, you want to start a business together? What kind of things could we do? She's more artsy, does music. I am, in my mind, just a science person, but I like numbers and I like analyzing and figuring things out. And I say, yeah, business sounds good. I always want to start a business to further the legacy that I want to leave, to have some wealth building generationally that I can do, and to assist the community as far as giving back with philanthropy and help my family members. And that's really why I want to start a business. And so I was like, yeah, let's do that. That was maybe 3 years before, when we first got on a board together, and we were just talking and we really liked each other's energy. And then that idea kind of died down. And then during the pandemic, like I said, I had all this time and my brain is doing all of the things. Like, my brain does not slow down. I really have to tell it, like, chill, okay? But I was sitting there and I said, oh, I wonder if this idea, we had a location already in mind. And so I'm like, I wonder if that is still available. And so I reach out to her and I say, hey, is that place available? And she's in real estate as well. So she was like, well, let me look and see. And so she said, actually, somebody else just signed the lease on it. And so I'm like, oh, well, I guess it's not my time. I guess it's not the time for this. And literally 3 days later, she called me back and said, hey, the person recanted on their, they removed their lease signature. They don't want it anymore. That should have been a question for me. But in my mind, I was like, oh, well, this must be meant to be. And then she said, well, what about having a partner? And I'm like, well, in my mind, her and I had already discussed something before, and that's half of the financing that I would need. And so I'm like, yeah, let's do it, before we even really contemplated on it. So we're like, yes, we dove right head first into it. I knew that we needed a lawyer. I was smart enough for that anyway, to say, hey, let's get somebody so that everything is on the up and up from the beginning. And so we got a lawyer and went through the motions with that, came up with the operating agreement. We had a little bit of contention on the majority ownership. So we flipped a coin and I won. But my personality is slightly stronger, and I think that that gave her pause. And so she was like, well, she came back a couple of days later, well, let's do 50-50 instead. I think that's more fair, because if ultimately whoever has the majority ownership, their decision is the one that matters the most. They might not listen to the other person. So there was, her and I weren't the best of friends. There were some trust issues there that I could understand completely. You're getting ready to put thousands of dollars into something with someone who a little bit, but not that well. And so I was like, okay, fine. If we do 50-50, then who's going to break the tie if we have an argument? So then we start talking about arbitration, and writing that up, what that would look like, because we didn't want to have a separate board on retainer for if we had a fit or something like that. So we were like, okay, well, we would need to go through some kind of mediation, and we had to write that up. So it was a lot of things in the beginning, and that still was okay with me, because I'm a person, I'm like, well, if we're gonna do it, let's do it right. Let's have everything written down. Let's have our signatures, whatever we need to do. And that was the only contention. So I didn't have any reason to say, oh, well, maybe I shouldn't be business partners with her. We took the Strength Finder quiz to figure out what our strengths were in comparison to each other's. And we actually were a really good fit concerning that. And then, it came up that she had some personal stuff going on, so she couldn't. So from the beginning, I was going to do it myself. And I kind of forgot that, because the whole partnership thing, you have to spend half the money. Initially, that's what you think, right? Is my internet okay? I saw a sign that said it was kind of unstable.
It went out for a little bit and kind of slowed down, but it caught back up, so it's fine now.
Okay. Okay, cool. And so what I would say to that is, I think it was meant for us to be able to begin the process together. I think that it was also meant for me to end the process alone, because the initial idea was that the process was going to be alone. And I've learned a lot about business in a short amount of time, and a lot about myself. And I think the learning about myself is more important than the learning about the business, because I think that um, if you're diligent and you are perseverant, and you also are smart enough to know that you don't know everything, and you are welcoming help, that your business can be successful. Now, granted, finances are a big part of it. So yes, I will say that have something, but I also will say that sometimes you might think that it's not going to work. But if it's really what you're supposed to be doing, and you have consulted who you feel like you need to consult, and for me, I prayed about it. That's not everybody's thing. I prayed about it. And I also had a pro and con list. And I also talked to my personal cabinet and myself, saying, hey, you're going to be really tired for at least a year. Like, you've worked for other people. You were tired. You've had more than one job multiple times of your life. For the majority part of your life, you were really tired and you still did it. So if this is your thing and you want it to be successful, then you can be tired and you can also not get paid for it. All of the money is going back into the business because thankfully I am still gainfully employed full time and I pared down my debt and I also have pared down my expectation of the kind of life that I will be able to live during this time of building. And I told myself, you have a year. That's the time frame that I'm giving myself. You have a year to get a routine, to get things how you want it to be, and then you can make a decision about how you want your life to be. I love what I do. I'm very passionate about justice. I'm very passionate about forensics, about people of color, about Black people in forensics specifically. Um, but I also know that sometimes your mission where you are is up. And I don't feel like that's what it is for me right now, but I don't know when that time will be. Just like I don't know when my mission for the library will be up. Yes, I'm supposed to start it. I'm supposed to get it running. I'm supposed to, have it be a staple in the community, give back from it to the community. But then I don't know what's next. And what I'm learning in the process is that you don't have to plan everything out. And that is crazy for me to say out loud because I am the epitome of a planner. But it's also freedom in knowing that you can be fluid and flexible and move and how things need to move and things will still be okay. And that's the biggest lesson that I've learned during this entire process is that entrepreneurship is a faith walk. It also is it will illuminate, like if you have a control issue, it's gonna come up. If you have a time management issue, it's gonna come up. If you have a hard time trusting other people or delegating, which is tied to the control, it's definitely gonna come up. And those are things that if you do not address them, those are personal things, right? That you would think, okay, that's my personal, but it will show in the other things that you're trying to do. And that's what's been shown to me in trying to, in starting this business. And I'm welcoming those things. And so I think that me welcoming them has made the fall some less harsh because it's been several instances where I've been completely upset and like, forget it. Somebody else can have this. I don't want to do it. Who wants to buy this from me? I'm done. And it hasn't even started yet. And my friends are like, girl, stop being crazy. And I'm like, no, I'm serious. I'm tired. I just want to get some rest. I don't want to do this anymore. Why do I have to think about this? I'm doing this alone. And then it's like, sis, you knew you were doing it alone. You had the opportunity to stop when your business partner asked you, were you going to move forward or was that the end? And you said yes. And so at this point, stop complaining, suck it up, do what you need to do, make it, be creative about how you can get customers in there so that you can pay your bills. Be creative about how you can scale it so it can get larger and you can hire people and you don't have to be there every single day and hour that it's open. That's how you're going to be successful, but that doesn't come overnight. And that comes from you working on your personal issues that have transferred into the business and also asking for help. And so I will just say, like, as far as entrepreneurship is concerned, it's been a great journey. It's been a hurtful journey. It's been a fun journey, but it's also been a learning journey. And I am the person that wants to continue learning because when you stop learning, that's when you start to die, regardless of your age. And so hopefully somebody received something from this. I spoke specifically about, the library and what I'm doing entrepreneurship wise. But if you have any questions concerning my full-time job, the voice acting that I do, the library, I would love to hear them. And hopefully you got something from my talk. So thank you very much for listening.
Thank you. You gave us a lot of insight into your entrepreneurship journey, and it's so funny because a lot of things that you touched on. I have a lot of students that are in the entrepreneurship pathway that are listening. You it literally said the exact same things that I was just had a lecture on this week. So to my students that are here in the entrepreneurship pathway, I told you someone else is not just me telling you. You have an entrepreneur here that's actually telling you exactly what we went over in class, because you talked about delegating and being able to do that, and we actually went over being able to get to that point in time where you can, because some entrepreneurs find it hard to delegate, and getting to that point where you can. So we did talk about that as well. And I have a question for you. You kind of talked about how, and those who have questions, please feel free to put them in a chat, or you can send them to me directly as well. Um, the question is, you said that you reach out to your cabinet or to your friends that have businesses. We have started our mentorship program for our entrepreneurship program here. How important do you think having a mentor is to your entrepreneurship journey?
Wow. So I think that it is very important to have a mentor. And the mentor might not necessarily be somebody in business. But I have several. Like, I'm a collector of mentors. I'm like, will you mentor? Please, somebody help a sister out. But I do have specific people who have businesses that I talk to, and it kind of helps you because you realize I'm not the only one experiencing this. I'm not the only one feeling like this. I'm not the only one who has to deal with this. They give you tips about how they overcame certain things, can connect you to other people who may be able to help you more than they can. I think it's always good to have a mentor, regardless of what you're doing. I have mentors who mentor me concerning the business, but they don't have businesses, but they have a lot of life experience and they know me personally. So they can speak to the parts of me where they might be a little underdeveloped. And they can say, hey, yeah, I hear what you're saying here, but have you thought about da 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 da? And I'm a sponge. I will soak it up. I will take notes and revisit those notes, and I might not show in that moment or do something immediately concerning the advice that they gave, but it's in my mind. I'm figuring out how I will make it my own, how I will implement that, or where down the line does it make more sense because of the vision that I've had for the business. Because the thing is your business is your business. Even if you do it with a partner, you have a vision for it, and you don't want to stray away from what your vision is to fit what other people want you to do. They might be great ideas. I've heard a whole bunch of great ideas. Some of them I will do, some of them I won't. That doesn't mean they're not great. It's just that the vision that I have for it and what I felt in my spirit about what I'm supposed to be doing, it doesn't align. And so, I also can be a stubborn person. I don't know if people believe in astrology. I'm a Taurus, whatever that means, you figure it out. But people say Tauruses are very stubborn. I've always been set in, once I finally make a decision, that's my decision. Even when I was a kid, that's what I want to do. I'm going to figure out how to do it, and I'll do it. If I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. It might not be next year, it might not be 2 years down the line, but for me, holding myself accountable and having integrity about my word is important. And so there have been very few times where I have set out on a goal, even to become the director that I am at the crime lab. That was a goal of mine. And it didn't work out how I thought it would work out, but it happened because I made sure that I continue to create and be open to opportunities that would allow me to get here. That's what happens in your entrepreneurship journey. Stuff might not even make sense to you in the beginning. Like, why did somebody tell me that? But it's up to you, and it takes a very critical and mature thinker to say, well, I still can kind of chew on that for a little bit. It might not make sense to me, but let me do some research, or let me see what other people are talking about. Let me bounce that off of my cabinet's brains. Have they heard about that before? We're very um, We're smart people, right? People who start stuff, you're courageous, you're smart, you have looked at the things and you're like, okay, well, I think I can do this. I think people can do everything, but it might not be for you to do. So you have to be smart enough to know that this is the thing that I'm supposed to be doing. And these are the people that I can reach out to that can help me accomplish this, because it really is a team effort. I have people who volunteer to work at the space. They're not getting paid yet. They will. And that's my word. But they're not getting paid yet, but they are investing in the business and in my vision and in me and helping me. And that has happened my entire life. I can look back at several situations. I am nowhere that I am because of myself. It is because of the people that have been placed in my life that I've encountered, and because of the God that I believe in. That's it. And so I feel like for everybody, you have that thing, right? You have, whether it's a person, whether it's a deity, whether it's your why is different from other people, but hold strong to that and make sure that you are moving in your purpose and your vision. Like, you might have to do a whole bunch of stuff in the beginning that you don't even care about or even like. I had to work at Target. I substitute taught when I got laid off one year from my job. I didn't want to do any of that. But you have to do what you have to do. And I feel like if you can do what you have to do for other people, you can do what you have to do for yourself. And that's important, because making yourself proud and keeping promises to yourself, how are you going to do that for other people and not yourself? It's not right. Treat yourself like you would treat your best friend. I'm sorry, I went off on a tangent.
No, but that's no, you're giving great advice. Great advice. I have a question from a student. What do you find most challenging about being an entrepreneur?
Finding the time to do everything that needs to get done. My business is not open every day. It's open on Thursday evenings, Friday evenings, and Saturday all day. I thought that was a perfect schedule because I work Monday through Friday, but I get off in enough time for me to make it there Thursday, for me to make it there Friday. This business is every day. I'm doing something every single day, responding to emails, booking requests, responding to social media. Now, some of this stuff you can outsource, right? But you got to have information for people to outsource. So if you want somebody to manage your social media, you have to give them content. You can't just say, hey, yeah, do this, and they don't know anything about your business. If you want somebody to be a virtual assistant and manage your emails, they kind of have to know what's important, how you respond to stuff, what you actually need them to do. And so, yeah, some of this stuff can be outsourced, but right now for me, a lot of it can't, because a lot of it involves decision making, and I'm the one spending the money and making the decisions. So I don't have someone right now that can uh, do that on my behalf. And so finding the time to have self-care, sleep, be good at my full-time job, be good at this new endeavor, do voice acting, because that I really love that, and it doesn't feel like work to me, so it's a part of my self-care. All of those things is time. And what I realize is that I spend a lot of time doing things that are not a priority at the moment. And that is a way that I have learned how to procrastinate, but make it feel like it's not procrastination, because it really is paralysis from analysis. It's like, oh, well, that seems really big. And my mental capacity right now, I can't do it, but I can do this thing. No, start small and just take little bites of it. And then you look up and you're like, well, dang, that really only took me 20 minutes. And I pushed it off and pushed it off and thought that it was going to take me forever. So I would say the biggest challenge is time management, but it's very doable. You can find your systems, however you do it, whether it be written calendars or calendars on your phone, or just prioritizing your to-do list, then it could be done.
Awesome. We have a lot of people that are interested in your voice acting. So I'll read one of the questions. Have any of your voice acting projects been published to public forums? And you have a few people that want to know what type of voice acting, because they want to hear. They would love to hear a few of what you're doing.
Okay, so yes, I've been on the internet and radio at locally and internationally. I've done several commercial type things. They call it commercial, but commercial is, it could be radio, it could be internet, it could be podcast, or it could be somebody's business where it's internal just for training, or like a conference or something like that. So I've done several of those, education, all kinds. And then my favorite is animation. I want to be a cartoon character. And I am saying this out loud. I will be, because I'm going to create my own. But I want to be a cartoon character. And so I practice animation more than I practice anything. And I've only booked 2 animation gigs. They're on YouTube. Raven's Room.
Oh,
I forgot
okay.
the actual thing, but the character's name is Keisha on Raven's Room. I think Family Roberto is the production company, but I've done that and that's been super fun. But yeah, animation is my favorite, and you may have heard me on the radio here maybe once or twice.
Awesome. Awesome. Let's see. We have how do you make connections? How do you put yourself in a place to meet the right people in network?
Well, one, I think that networking, I don't like how people network necessarily. I like to call it relationship building, because that's really what it is. I feel like networking can come off as, here's my card, here's your card, or can I get your contact information, or what's your social? And then we don't hear from each other ever again. Or maybe we like her or something like that. I feel like it can start like that, but I feel like true connecting with people and putting yourself in places is people knowing genuinely who you are. So if you ask people about me, they know I love forensics. They know I like voice acting. And now they know I have the library. They know that, because that is what I talk about. That's what I'm passionate about. And so when they have a question about forensics, they come to me. When they want to know, okay, well, how did you get started in voice acting? They come to me. But that's because I'm also very open about sharing any kind of resources that I have, because it's hard for me to be fake anyway. And so they know that the stuff that I'm saying is genuine. I think the way to network is to be genuinely who you are. You will gravitate towards the people you are supposed to gravitate towards, and they will gravitate towards you. You also have to not be afraid of talking to people. Like, I don't like to be the center of attention. I actually like being in the background, which is why voice acting really connects with my spirit, because you don't even have to know who I am. And I'm having so much fun in the booth. And it could be something that everybody hears, and they will only know that if I tell them. But you have to not be afraid to also tell people about it. Like, before I was doing voice acting gigs and stuff before I told people about it. And then I told people about it, and people started referring people to me. Like, oh, well, she does that. Oh, that's networking. That's people knowing that you are impeccable with your word, you have integrity, you're honest, you're genuine, and they want to do business with you because they like you. So they don't know if they like you if you don't talk to people, if you don't have a presence, if you don't go out and do things just for fun. Everything doesn't have to be, oh, I might have a connection here that can make me some money or something. It's like, what do you like to do? Go do that and be yourself while you're doing it, and talk to a stranger, just one. I have to sometimes when I go to events, okay, before you leave here, you have to talk to 3 people that you don't know. I have to do that. And it has helped me.
You awesome. I mean, you're giving great advice. Great advice. Um, And they are really, really interested in this voice acting. I was so
Should have never said nothing.
one question is, what is your favorite cartoon character? If you could answer that. And then I'll let you answer that one first. What's your favorite cartoon character?
Oh man. See, I grew up watching cartoons. Like that was my jam Saturday mornings. And so I don't have a favorite cartoon character. It's hard for me to say favorite anything because I had like bits and pieces of a lot of different things. And a lot of things bring back some type of nostalgia. So I'm like, oh no, but that one, but that one. So I would never be able to say what's my favorite cartoon character that's already established. I do have a favorite that I like to voice. It's the easiest one for me, and um, it's one that was my first that I just was like, oh, I want to do this before I even had a voice acting coach and everything. And her name is Alice. And I will talk in her voice a little bit. Let me find something to read. But I will not show my face while I'm doing it because that's just not my thing. So let me find something to read uh, really quickly. Or if you want to give me something to read.
You can whatever you have handy. I'm interested
I
to
don't want to
hear
read
this.
work stuff because that's inappropriate.
Okay.
So let me, y'all don't need to hear about what's going on in crime lab right now. Let's see.
While you're doing that, the other question was, if you want to start voice acting, where should I start?
There are tons of resources online, on Instagram. They have a lot of coaches. Atlanta Voiceover Studio is a great studio here in Atlanta. I'm not sure where you all are located in relation to Atlanta, but they do stuff virtually. A lot of stuff is virtual now. That's what kind of made it so much easier. Coaching is virtual, doing gigs is virtual. It's just been really, so I would say do some research online, and then try to figure out, if it's something that you want to do, because people think it's easy, but it's still work. Like you still have to practice and you still have to do exercises and like have some stamina. Okay, so I'll read this. This is just like a September quote that I pulled up. Um, okay, and I'll cut my camera off really quickly before I do it. Welcome September. Please be a month to remember and bring good health, financial abundance, blessings of love, laughter, smiles, and happiness to all my family and friends.
Wow. It's like a whole different person. Like you you would never know that was you. That's amazing. Wow. That's really cool. That's really cool.
Thank you. Yeah, she's
Yeah.
my easiest one because I feel like my voice gets high like that when I get excited anyway. And so
We got some
she's good.
bravos, some claps. People, they're loving your they are
Thank you.
loving
Thank
it.
you.
They're loving
I
it.
appreciate it.
So we have time for I'm gonna do one more question.
Okay.
And it's about your business loan. Did you find the business loan process to be difficult? Or were there any hurdles that you feel you really learned something that that would be helpful to others?
So it because the business was not established, it was not a business loan. I took out the loan prior to us having any kind of paperwork. And so it ended up being a personal loan, that I personally had to pay back, um, before I move it over to the business's responsibility. But so it was a personal loan. So that made it a little easier, I think, because I have established credit and pay my bills on time. So my credit was pretty good. And the interest amount was um, not as high as a credit card, which some people use. And um, sometimes you just got to do what you got to do to start. But I would say that the finances of it is really important. So make sure you have things in place and you've done like an appropriate assessment of the funding that's needed and how to keep it afloat in the first few months where you're not really making any money, um, before you dive head first into the situation. But yeah, it was a personal loan initially.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Thank you. So that's going to be all the time. We did have some more questions, but that's going to be all the time
Sorry.
we have, but that's okay. I will be sending a survey out with information about the library, the Instagram, and her website, so
Yay,
you can.
thank you.
Yes, yes. So even if you have questions, you can definitely reach out to her through those channels.
You
Um,
can.
those that are asking about starting a business, hey, if you didn't know, we do have our entrepreneurship pathway, and that's what we're here for, to help you start your business. And I just want to thank you so much for your time, Candace, for being
No
here and
problem.
sharing with us your entrepreneur journey. We really enjoyed it, and we really enjoy hearing your voice acting. Your voice I really enjoyed that. So thank
Thank
you
you.
again, and thank you all for attending our entrepreneurship speaker series. The next speaker is on September 15th, and you can register at ess.highlands.edu. Then we'll have another one in October, but also on October 15th, many of our speakers, including Candace, will be returning to Georgia Highlands at our Charge into Leadership conference that we are going to be hosting on the Cartersville campus on October 15th, open to our Georgia Highlands students. So if you want to see these speakers, especially our speakers that we had last semester and the semester before, then Jason Weaver will be there. He'll be back again. Carl, a lot of you guys really love Carl, who did the costumes and tailoring for Black Panther. Will be
Oh
returning. Yeah,
yeah.
we'll be returning for our conference, the Charge into Leadership conference, and you'll start seeing that on the email, students, how you can register for this conference. So you can see the speakers again in a panel, and you can see them face to face and ask all those questions that you did not get to ask today, and you can actually ask them during the panel section. So I want to thank everyone again for attending, and I hope everyone has an
Yes.
amazing, amazing day and a wonderful holiday weekend. Bye, everyone.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye bye.